Hi, welcome to Formarte English Academy. We're going to start our lesson 30, which is the last one for the B1 level. So if you are here listening to this class, I really want to congratulate you because, well, you finished your actually all the modules for B1. So that would be great. And I hope that you're going to be ready to start then our B2 level as soon as possible. Well, again, thank you. And let's start right away with today's lesson, which is 30, with the vocabulary for today. The first one that we're going to see, well, we have very, not a lot of words today, just 11, but we're going to start with an adjective, which is childish. Childish. What is the meaning of childish? Well, it's silly like the behavior of a child. Because he was enjoying the occasion, so he thought he'd spoil it for everyone else. It was very childish of him, right? So that's an adjective for a person that acts like a child, childish. Let's go with number two. Cool, right? That's is a very popular, I mean, a very common word, right? Cool. And is also an adjective is good or fashionable. Cool water, right? In this case. So that would be cool. Let's go with number three. Embarrassing is another adjective. Embarrassing. Well, that's someone or something that makes you feel stupid in front of other people. An embarrassing situation, for example. Number four, we have gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's an adjective, very beautiful or pleasant. The bride look gorgeous. That's an example. Number five, guy. Very easy. Guy is a noun. In this case, a man or boy, or in plural form, sometimes people. He's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy is an example. Number six, haircut. We have a noun, haircut. The style in which your hair is cut. She has a really awful haircut. That's an example. Number seven, joke. Joke. It's a noun. A short, funny story which someone says to make people laugh. Detail is the example. Did I tell you the joke about the chicken crossing the road? Number eight, notice. A verb, notice. To see something and be aware of it, right? I noticed a crack in the ceiling. So you noticed something, you knew of us, I mean, you noticed something, right? So that would be, in this case, a verb. Let's go with number nine. Smart. It's an adjective, smart. Clever. There's synonyms. You can say, well, guy looks very clever in his new suit, doesn't he? Okay. Number 10. Let's go with number 10. Spoil. Spoil. To stop something from being enjoyable or successful. He tried not to let the bad news spoil his evening. Spoil. And the last one, whistle. Whistle. It's a verb. In this case, well, we use it as a verb or also as a noun. To make a sound by breathing air out through a small hole made with your lips. He whistled as he worked. Whistle. Okay, so those are the words for today. Let's go right away to our lesson, which is blue for a boy, pink for a girl. Okay, let's start then with some the introduction, where it says, do you like doing any of these things, or would you like to do them? Okay, remember that you can use like in ing, or I don't like with ing. For example, I like playing soccer, or I don't like playing soccer. And if you use would, you will use an infinitive. So I would like to play soccer, or I wouldn't like to play soccer. So that's something that we need to remember. Also, it says, what are your three favorite school subjects? We're going to talk about them in our live classes. And also, we're going to have like a little debate in our live class with these questions. So get ready to debate a little bit, because we're going to have a lot of fun with these statements. The corpus spot over here says like and would like. What I said, remember that in this case, you can say, I like to hear from you soon. Will you have a great, you will have a great time because you like visiting museums, right? So in this case, some of these sentences written by PET students are correct. Put a tick if they're correct against them. Correct the mistakes in order to other sentences. So if they are correct, some of these are correct, put a tick. But if they're not correct, I want for you to correct them. And you can work regarding these examples that we just saw. Okay, in the other part, this is the reading part that we're going to do today. And over here, we're going to read. This is a diary from two people. In this case, Jake. This is Jake. And then we have Lucy. So this is Jake and Lucy. So they have a diary. In this case, that's what they wrote on Monday. But you need to based on this that he wrote on Monday, you need to know which day did he wrote Tuesday. I mean, which is Tuesday, which is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But we need to, they're not in order. So we need to, based on what they are saying, we need to put that in order. Also, we're going to fill in the blanks. In this case, we need to choose, for example, I will see or see, or yeah, I will see or see him, but, or in this case, you can also, they think or are thinking. So we need to see if they want to use a present progressive or present simple. So in that case, that's what we need to do over here. And then we just need to, as it says here in part 2, where it says, read what Jake wrote in his diary on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're in the wrong order. Put them in the order and write the day at the top. Put the verbs in brackets. So we're going to be using these verbs in brackets. It says, put them in, okay, put the verbs in brackets into the correct form. So if it's present, we need to put present. If it's maybe present progressive. So look at these verbs and we're going to put them in the correct order. This is this can take a little bit longer. So maybe I will leave this for homework and you can work during the week with this reading part. It's very important. Maybe I know that sometimes we are very busy, right? So I would recommend for us to do this part maybe in different days so that we can have more time and really try to accomplish this task. And you will have a reading practice every day, right? So I think this is very important for us to do. Now, let's go to our grammar part right away. And we're going to see hardly. What is the meaning of hardly and how to use it? So let's go here very quick to our grammar part. And it says hardly. Well, hardly means almost not. Almost not. We don't use not with hardly. So we don't say don't hardly, right? Let's be careful with that. So we use hardly, any of, or I, anyone, anybody, plus noun. So hardly any, hardly anyone, hardly anybody, plus noun. For example, I have hardly any homework. Almost none, right? That means I don't have maybe just a few homework, right? Or sorry, a little of homework, right? Or hardly anyone enjoys homework, almost no one. Or hardly any of my friends are older than me, almost none of them, right? So that's a way of saying hardly. Now with a verb, we use hardly ever plus verb. So we say, we hardly ever have a free evening, almost never. Or she hardly understood any of our jokes, right? Then we can use they hardly ate anything, right? Almost nothing. So that would be a way. Sometimes we can use ever, not always, but hardly a verb, right? Now, before and after plus ing. The subject of the ing verb must be the same as the subject of the verb. For example, I wrote an email to my parents before going to bed. Before I went to bed, not before they went to bed, right? Or they will certainly phone us after arriving home. So again, the subject of the verb, ing verb, must be the same as the subject of the other verb. For example, we have another example. It says, before leaving the train, check that you all have your luggage, right, before you leave. Or after using these books, please return them to the correct shell after you use, right? So in this case, remember the subject, right? We have the subject and we have the object. So again, the subject is going to be always the first one, right? Again, it says must be the same as the subject of the verb. So I wrote an email before going, right? So who before I went, right? Before going to bed. So in this case, we're talking about the subject is the same thing over here. So remember, in that case, we use the ing form, in this case, gerund, right? So that will be after or before, right? We use a gerund, in this case, going. You don't say, for example, you don't say, I wrote an email to my parents before to go, right? So if we're going to use before or after you did something or they did something, then we're going to be using a gerund. Okay, so in this case, this is the last grammar part of the book for Unit 30. So we're going to be practicing this in over here in this page 194. We're going to be practicing this. So it says, well, compare with other students who read Jake's diary. Do you have the same order? That will be for the first task that I gave you for homework. We're going to compare that in class. And then it says working pairs again. As your partner, the student A questions below. As your partner, the student B question below. This will be just, if you are, in this case, we don't have a partner. So we're going to be talking with, or just answering these questions regarding the rating. So that will be like some reading comprehension that we're going to see over here. And then, well, we're going to see some listening parts that we're going to show. You're going to see that in the platform. But this is what I really want for you to practice, hardly. So it says rewrite the underlined words using hardly. For example, it says, I hadn't seen Monica for 10 years and it was difficult for me to recognize her. So instead of saying that, I can say, I hardly recognize her, right? So, so I hadn't seen Monica for 10 years and I hardly recognize her. Or for example, now my friend is at university. I don't see her very often during term. So you can say, what will be in a negative way? Right? Using hardly very often, right? In this case, see. So instead of saying I don't see her very often, you can say I hardly see her, right? During term time. So remember that we don't use do or we don't use don't or not with hardly. Be careful with that. And the same thing with C, D, and E. Now it says now complete the sentence below using hardly. Add any other words, right? So that will be also practicing using hardly. And write some sentences using hardly. I hardly ever, or I have hardly any, or hardly anyone I know. So try to complete these sentences in a personal way. Now, grammar part before and after ing, right? For example, say Lucy says rewrite these sentences using before or after. Lucy heard that Jack was playing in the match. Then she went to the match with him. So we can say after hearing that Jack was playing in the match, Lucy went to watch it, right? So we are going to be using before or after. And remember that after, before and after using that, then you use a gerund, right? With ing, the ing form. So these parts, we're going to be working these activities in our live classes. And this is also very important. We're going to be practicing this. Look at these different ways of saying goodbye and match them to the situation ing. So we're going to match this, right? The meaning of these ways of saying goodbye. And we're going to have a listening, the last exam folder for listening, where it says, look at these 6 sentences. For this part, you will hear a conversation between a boy, Andy, and a girl, Sarah, about dancing. Decide if each sentence is correct or incorrect, right? So it's very easy. So it's just like true or false, depending on what we listen. And then we have some speaking parts that we're going to be working on the live class. And we're going to finish with some writing that I recommend for you to do this part, page 197. And if you have questions, please let me know. So that will be the class for today. These last classes are very short, but very important for us to see. So again, thank you very much. It's been really a pleasure to have you in this B1 course and really expecting for you to be with us in our next level, which is B2, and for your English to keep up growing and growing every day. And we are very excited and very pleased to help you, in your English development. So thank you very much again. We will see you hopefully in our B2 level. Goodbye.